I'm Ian Cameron. I run a large independent contact lens and therapeutic specialist practice here in Edinburgh. We've got 7 optometrists all working part-time across 4 to 5 clinics a day. Up here in Scotland, we do a lot of peripheral retina stuff, and I like to think we're pretty good at it because we're trained to do it, and it's a big part of the standard GauSS contract. Having an Optos California device has enabled me to realise that I'm not as good at the periphery of the retina as I thought I was, and there's a load of stuff that I miss, and it really supports my clinical practice. It was humbling to see how many things on patients that I've been seeing for years and dilating year after year, things that I've been missing. Tears in the retina, lesions in the retina, abnormalities that I just simply didn't know were there, despite doing what I thought were good quality dilated examinations. Some people get worried about that situation, thinking, what if I show my patients this picture and it's something that you haven't seen before? Well, I feel like that was a great news story. Like, I would say to patients, do you know, you've been coming all these years and I've not been able to see this, and now I've got a piece of technology that's enabled me to find it.
Do you feel it has added value to your practice?
In a sense, I always felt that we weren't missing anything, which is why we never had it. And then you get the thing and you realise you were missing an awful lot and you just didn't realise. So I think it's the hindsight is where you can really see the value. I think we decided to do it because we felt there were compelling reasons to add it to our offering, but actually the value has increased since then as we've got used to using the device and learned its capabilities and seen what we were missing all these years. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the periphery of the retina, and unless you look, you won't see it. And unless you see it, you can't do anything about it. There's stuff in there that you need to monitor, and there's stuff in there that you need to detect. Serious sight-threatening conditions appear in the periphery of the retina. And so you have to find them if they're there. And the earlier you find them, the better. And Optomat gives you the chance to find those earlier than you would otherwise.
How do you integrate ultra-wide-field imaging into your practice?
I think at the point that we decided we were going to do Optomat in addition to OCT as a kind of standard of care, then we had to make the move to pre-screening, which we didn't do before. And that took quite a lot of juggling around because you have to adapt all your processes and systems to move patients through that patient journey. So rather than coming straight to the Optom, they were going into pre-screening and then on to the Optom. I just don't now take any scans at all. And that was a transition that we had to kind of manage and get used to and train the staff and see them develop and then get the logistics sorted out. Thinking carefully about that and really taking time to think about how you're going to integrate it into patient journey has meant that we've made the most of it. So from the first day we got the Daytona, every patient was on it at every appointment. So it was getting maximum use from minute one. I think generally we've just given more and more ownership of pre-screening to our front of house team. And we have a front of house team who are extremely skilled at explaining the test well, doing the test accurately and getting good quality scans better than I am by miles at capturing these scans and explaining them to patients and putting patients at ease and all that. So it's a constant process.
Did scanning every patient lead to any discoveries?
This is the value of taking so-called normal scans, because you can then see changes that occur. So let's say that somebody doesn't have any blemishes on their retina one year and then suddenly there's a new blemish the next year. Well, if you never got the normal one from before, the normal baseline, how do you know that's a new blemish and how do you know how much it's changed? Well, you don't. So, and that's been our experience over the years. We've done normal scan, boring. Suddenly something's not normal. And that's a great opportunity to say, and now you can see the value of why I made you do all those normal scans over the years. And this is fantastic because now we know exactly what is new and we can monitor it going forward. And the Optos has really great features for monitoring and comparing and contrasting. It's got really solid software for that. So it's very good at that.
How do you integrate assessing the scans into your sight test?
I absolutely always spend time going through scans with patients because I think it is probably the most important feature of the eye exam. I think you do need to really carve out that time in your eye exams and make that a real priority in order to get the most out of these kind of pieces of technology. I'll take you through my exact spiel, right? It's exactly what I say. On Optos, they have this really smart thing called the 3D wrap, which is where I always start, which is a 3D representation of the eyeball, and it kind of flies in through the eyeballs. This is really cool. So I say, here's your eyeball here, your right eye. We're going in through the pupil to the back of the eye. And you can see here, and I stopped the animation at that point. So you see here, this is the optic nerve. That's the connection between the eye and the brain. Over here, you've got the macula, which is where you do your detail vision, and you've got the blood vessels top and bottom. And I say that just so they can get their bearings, and they're the major features that probably their eyes are drawn to. And then I start the animation again, and the eye begins to rotate around into the periphery, and I say we can turn the eye around like this, get a really good look around the edges of the eye. And that's my sort of standard explanation. And then at that point, I talk about... The next thing is to talk about the things that you are looking for. And again, this is the thing that often gets missed, that you need to explain to patients what it is that you are looking for and not finding, because that is the thing that they want. They want to know, do I have macular degeneration? So if you don't say you don't have macular degeneration, they're still worried they might have macular degeneration. Even if they're 35 and there's basically no chance they've got macular degeneration, they don't know that. Having done that wee explanation, I would talk about, as the thing spins around, I would talk about, so at the periphery of the eye, this is where you can get things like retinal tears and retinal detachment. Then say, and if you look along the blood vessels, you can pick up things like diabetes, high blood pressure, and maybe 40% of people say at that point, oh, that's amazing, I didn't know you could see that in the eye. When I'm talking about these horrible sounding diseases, retinal tears, retinal detachment, I always finish by saying, and there's no sign of any of those. So they're thinking, fantastic. I would switch to the OCT to talk about the optic nerve, which is where you can get things like glaucoma, and the macula, which is where you get things like macular degeneration. And I do a similar sort of spiel on each of those structures on the OCT. So for them, they're like, this is incredible. He's checked for all these amazing things, and I don't have any of them.
Could you live without your Optos California?
I could not live without my Optos California because I've had it for so long now, I've come to rely on it. I've got such a strong database of information about patients that I just don't want to not be without it, and I want to be able to monitor the things that it can let me monitor.